So say goodnight to the bad guy.
You looking at the bad guy. This the last time that you ever see a bad guy like me. You don't have the guts to be who you wanna be.
Jerry, what's up, buddy?
What's up, bro? How you doing?
Good to have you on the show.
Good to have you. It's good to see you. Good to see you.
It's
always good to be in Miami.
Yeah.
Good to be in Miami.
This was weird how it worked out. I was like, yo, you want to be on the show? And you were like, well, I'm here.
I thought that's why you hit me up, because you saw that I was here.
No, I had no clue you were here.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Yeah.
I'm happy it all worked out.
We literally got here yesterday.
Sweet. When you were like, yeah, I'm on my way to Mangoes. I was like, Mangoes? There's only one Mangoes I know, and it's on South Beach.
Yeah.
Right? That's cool.
Oh, yeah. $20 shots of Jameson. $21. Crazy.
Tourist trap. But
Yeah.
but that place is legendary, though. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, you got the whole salsa thing and all that. What was it when you went? Like, what kind of music were they playing? You don't remember?
It was like a mixture.
It was like reggaeton or something?
Nah, it was like a mixture. It was just like a DJ kind of stuff.
Okay.
Definitely more like Spanish music than
Of course.
you would have in like Charleston.
That's your
But
thing.
there was some.
Did you do like a whole show while you were there? Like the people on the table and the dancers?
Yeah,
and
there was dancers and all that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit of the Cuban culture for the world, I guess.
Yeah. That's what you're Cuban?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Full Cuban on both sides of my family, yeah.
Okay.
First generation.
Okay.
Yep.
You were born here?
I was born here, but my first language is Spanish. I grew up in a part of the city where like no one speaks English.
Okay.
My dad doesn't speak English.
Okay.
Said 80% of my family doesn't speak English. So Spanish was like,
You have you don't really have an accent though.
I mean, thank you.
Yeah.
But in Miami, all the Cuban kids sound like me.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Eli doesn't really either.
No, Eli's accent, which is crazy because he was born in Cuba.
Yeah.
And his Spanish is horrible. His Spanish is terrible. But hey, you know, yeah.
And because I don't think his mom speaks much English
at all.
At all.
No English.
And and he's not good at Spanish.
And his brother's Spanish is horrible too. I don't get it.
Really?
Like, yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, man. So Jeremy, it's great to have you on. You got a badass story, very unique. I think this is the first time I have a marijuana trafficker on. So this is gonna be fun.
Federal marijuana trafficking.
Get to dive deep into it. So excited about that. So are you originally from South Carolina? Is that where you grew up?
No, so I grew up in Maryland, just outside of Baltimore. Yep, that's why I'm a Ravens fan. Yeah, big Ravens fan, big Orioles fan.
This guy loves The Wire. You have no idea.
Okay,
he has The Wire on TV. I love that TV show, by the way. It's great.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. My mom was a probation officer in Baltimore City.
Really?
So yeah, back before I was born, but in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. But Baltimore. It's crazy with the marijuana thing because I got arrested. That's where I first got arrested for marijuana. And I'll never forget because I got arrested with like a quarter pound of marijuana in 2008, and I told the cop I was like, this is going to be legal, and he was like, no, they're never going to legalize it. And now Maryland is recreationally. Now there's a cannabis dispensary on the corner. It used to be a bank in the shopping center that was like, the shopping center that you go to growing up with the grocery store and all that. And now there's literally a dispensary right there, less than a mile from my parents' house. And I'm like, it's so surreal living in the world today. The way it is with marijuana still being a crime. It's still in this weird gray area, which it really shouldn't be. Yeah, it's like America has accepted that it's legal and it's not. I was actually just the other day, somebody like a comment on Instagram kind of thing. This guy's like, people do not understand that the feds have not changed their stance on marijuana at all in any official capacity. It is still a Schedule I drug with no medicinal value. They haven't changed sentencing, like nothing about marijuana. It's only that they've kind of started looking the other way more. There was the I think it was the Cole memo when Obama was in office that took funding away from prosecuting state compliant marijuana businesses and things like that. But you know, those are memos. Those aren't like actual law change. And then what people, I think right now is what's happening is they're constantly announcing that a new bill is being put forward and all this other stuff that's going to do this. Like the one I saw the other day is like they're putting a bill forward to make it so that you can ship marijuana from a legal state to another legal state, and it can go through states that are illegal and still be protected, which needs to be done, but that bill's not going to pass. So it's like people,
because the states in the middle would have to agree, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be a federal
federal mandate.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's too like anybody can write a bill. Anybody can write a bill about anything. It's will it ever get out of a subcommittee? Then will it ever get into the House floor? Then will it ever pass the Senate? Then will the president ever sign it? And that's a long way away from happening with anything marijuana related right now, because we actually just got so there's 2 Democrat and 2 Republican members of the Cannabis Caucus in D.C., which is like kind of an unofficial thing. David Joyce, Ilhan Omar are 2 of them. And they haven't even met yet, but we're getting them to finally meet. So hopefully we can start making progress. It's just such an issue that gets like, it's like the first thing to get pushed off to the side constantly. Right. But in the minds of Americans, it's like already happened. Like they already see it as like, oh, it got legalized, and it hasn't. And the biggest thing is we haven't let people out of prison who are in prison for selling less weed than most dispensaries do in a day. So yeah, marijuana trafficking is what I went to prison for.
Is Baltimore really that rough? Like
downtown. I mean, so to be honest with you, so I'm from like the suburbs, right?
Right.
I definitely learned more about Baltimore, like what it's like in Baltimore from being at Fort Dix, because a lot of Baltimore people are in, like one of my cellies when I was in at Fort Dix, he was from Baltimore, and he was part of the what did they call themselves?
The DC car,
the Dummies, I think was the name of their. And I mean, you know, carjacking, like, you know, just like all that kind of, like just the life that he expressed and lived is definitely not the life I lived. But yeah, in those areas, it is definitely
wild,
bad. Yeah. DC is the same. The DC inmates, but obviously you know this, but the anybody who goes to prison in DC goes to the feds because they don't have state prison because they're not a state. But the Baltimore's definitely, and obviously heroin has always been king in Baltimore. But now, you know, it's like everywhere else, fentanyl's taken over. So it's a
weird evolution of drugs, like how drugs get worse and stronger and more potent over time.
Yeah.
Wild,
well,
right?
that's one of the reasons. That's, you know, the premise of the novel I wrote, Legalized, is the concept of legalizing and regulating all drugs. Because yeah, they do just keep getting worse. We've never arrested our way out of a drug epidemic. Right. The only way that we've seen a decline in a particular drug's use is by people switching to a worse one.
Right.
It's the only thing that's ever happened. And that's one of my, you know, main premises. I think a lot of people when they hear me say like, "What, you believe in legalizing all drugs?" Like they think that I just think everyone should be, you know, with the fentanyl lean or like the deuce heads in prison and stuff like that, and that's not it at all.
Right.
I think that they should be legalized and regulated so that, you know, people are going to do what they're going to do anyway. At least we should try to keep them alive and keep them safe and provide them access to getting better when they choose to do that. And I believe marijuana is the exit drug and the cure to like opiate addiction.
I believe so too. I have a friend of mine that she lives up in Ohio, and recently we were texting. She said something along the lines of I was joking about vices. She's like, oh, and I was like, oh, so weed is your vice? And she said, no, it's harm reduction. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, I used to shoot dope. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I would much rather you smoke J's every day than shoot dope, you know?
So that's harm reduction. Like I'm very involved in, I actually volunteer for Wake Up Carolina, which is a harm reduction organization in Charleston. I actually just donated I own a moving company, and we helped move some stuff for them for free. Just and then I pack Narcan units and things like that, test strips, all those things for people to use, and you know that all the money for that is coming from that $50 billion opiate settlement with Purdue Farms and all of that. And each state has been allotted a certain amount of money from that settlement. And there's Florida, actually, your state. DeSantis used opiate settlement money to fight against marijuana legalization. Over millions of dollars of opiate settlement money to fight against Yes on 3, which was the one that didn't pass.
Make it recreational.
Mm-hmm. So opiate settlement money helped defeat marijuana, which to me, as someone who believes the way I do, I just don't understand. Like your friend's story. People don't people who don't want to accept that as like at face value. It's like, what is your like real agenda? If somebody tells you I smoke weed because it keeps me from shooting dope, I don't really feel like you have the right to be like, no, that's not acceptable. Like you should.
I agree.
You should
completely.
You should just be completely clean and sober. You should just not do any drugs. It's like, okay, like that's not.
I'm of the opinion that I kind of agree with you for the most part. Like we're all adults and we're gonna do what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is just my opinion. There's no health benefits, obviously, to shooting dope or doing any of that shit. There's obvious health benefits and medicinal benefits to marijuana. So I don't know, man. I think the generation that is kind of totally against marijuana has kind of slowly died out, which is kind of baby boomers, Gen X, that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, society is changing, I think, slowly but surely. It's just the government needs to catch up with us.
It's when you look at the numbers, you know, beginning of early 2000s, you were in like the 20% approval rating for marijuana, and now it's at 70%.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing else in political world that you see that drastic.
70%,
yeah. And to have it be 70%, it's over 90%. Think it should at least be medicinally. So you got to think, it's a Schedule I drug deemed to have no medicinal benefit by the federal government.
Right.
But yet 90% of Americans think that it should be medicinally legal. So how does that happen? Like, how do you have 90% of Americans agree that something should be a certain way and have the law directly contradict what 90% of Americans believe in?
Right.
And when it really comes down to like the nuts and bolts of why that is, and it gets so complicated because of the so many of the competing viewpoints on what that looks like, right? You have big pharma, like they want to be able to keep it as, like, if it's going to be medicinally, then they want to control it. You know what I'm saying? And have it only be that, so that they control the market on it. Then you have, like, you kind of already have the established models of California and all the other states that have the separate dispensaries and all that. That's the comment I was talking about. This guy was like, oh, well, doctors prescribe marijuana, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, actually, technically, doctors do not prescribe marijuana. They recommend marijuana.
Right.
It can only be a recommendation, because a prescription can only be filled at a pharmacy.
Right.
And you cannot, there is nowhere that you can fill a marijuana. Now, take out, what is it, Meridol, which is like the pill thing that they have. But other than that, that's the only thing that you can get from a pharmacy anywhere. The rest is just a doctor recommendation. And they kind of, it's semantics of the word recommendation and prescription. But when it comes to the law and federal law, those words matter.
It makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference.
Right.
And that's, I always talk about, like, there's so many steps in this. And I think that even people that are serving life in prison for weed, I would say most of them, and as much as I am on, like, the get people out of prison side, the number one thing to me is the kids with seizures, the people with cancer that are being denied something that could save their lives or make their lives more livable because of some archaic thinking on a plant that clearly has medicinal value. To say that it has no medicinal value is just literally, like, all common sense apart. I'm just saying it to saying it. I'm not willing to listen to anybody, like the big one for me when I was selling weed, I bartended with someone, and her dad had cancer, and he was the pastor of a church, not a weed guy, right? But when he had cancer, was going through chemo, Hillary talked him into trying cannabis to help. He ended up dying, but for that, like, year or two that he was in that state, cannabis was the only thing that helped him eat. It was the only time he enjoyed with his wife. And I used to give I would just give him the weed, obviously. I never made him pay for any of it. But it just showed that, someone that was completely against it, when they were put in that situation, their mind was changed because they realized the benefits. Right. But then to have people still be like, no, you're wrong, you shouldn't do that, it's bad. Oh, well, why don't you just take these prescription drugs or whatever? Like, it's just, you're just ignoring reality. And it's just wrong. It's just wrong. It's wrong to keep people that are trying to, just anybody with any kind of terminal illness. Like, are you really going to tell someone with a terminal illness that they can't smoke some weed? Like, what kind of person are you? Like, that's just.
My grandfather had prostate cancer, and he was using, he was smoking J's the whole time, and he ended up surviving cancer, but it was night and day. Like, you could tell that, it really helped him. No pain, chemo, all the stuff he had to go through. So it was. Yeah,
and that's I think that's where it has to start.
Yeah,
is like, the obvious. Like, these people need help, and veterans with PTSD. Right. Like, that's a huge movement that I think that movement is gonna get us over the line. Do you know the guy who killed Osama bin Laden? They just had that Netflix documentary about
I heard
him.
of it.
Okay, so he owns a cannabis brand now. Operators Cannabis, I think is what it's called. And he's like, on Newsmax all the time, like super right leaning guy, but he's, owns a cannabis brand. And I've been trying so hard. Like, I comment on everything he posts, trying to get him to like come to the White House and all that, because it's like you have a voice that they have to listen to. You know what I'm saying? And that's I think that the veterans, and when we went to DC this past year, we had a veterans organization, and they were awesome. And it's just different when guys like that go into these politicians' offices and everything with that history. They're hard to not listen to, you know, because they've fought for the country and all that kind of stuff. It's easier for them to turn off. Like someone like me, they're just like, oh, whatever, you're a drug dealer. But the veterans and things like that, I think that's really big for our movement.
So we'll get into the advocacy part of it towards the end. So let's rewind back to Baltimore.
Yeah.
How old are you the first time you get in trouble for weed?
Okay, so the very first time I got arrested for weed was college. I was playing college baseball. I went and got 1.25 pounds of mids for like $1,000 or something like that.
Are you a consumer at this point, or are you dealing?
I mean, I'm dealing, but not like. I'm basically smoking for free.
Got it.
But I'm selling to like guys on the baseball team.
Since when did you like weed? Like since
okay, so the very first, so that my story with weed comes from like, so I grew up in a super conservative Christian home.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Super conservative Christian, like cultish Christian home. I was homeschooled. So I went
both parents?
Yeah, both parents. I went to play college baseball, which was my first experience, like even going to school or anything like that. And it was hard. It was hard for me. And I was the only kid on the team that didn't have a car or a license. I didn't have a cell phone. My life was very much like, my mom's goal was definitely like to keep me away from like the temptations of the world, like try to limit my world.
Right.
But once you go off to college, like
that's not happening.
Things just change. But it was definitely like a really hard time for me, like adversity wise and everything like that. And I actually had like a panic attack, like a super, like just like I broke down at a game and I couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher. Like I could throw the ball to second. I could throw it to first. I could do everything like that. But just for some reason, I couldn't throw a ball. I think it's
you play
Major
catcher?
League. Yeah, Major League or Major League 2. One of them, the guy had the same thing. Like it's like a thing. It's like a baseball thing. So it just was in my head, and it messed with me the whole season. And then after my freshman year, so still I've never drank alcohol. I've never smoked weed, nothing like that. I'd never even seen weed. And it got to be the summer, and my friends, like that I'd grown up with, like around church and everything, they were like, we don't want you to like call the cops on us, but like we tried weed, and we think it would maybe help you with that, like your baseball thing or whatever.
I don't want you to call the cops on.
yeah. Well, because they were worried, because I wasn't cool. So I tried weed for the first time, and went and hit a home run farther than I ever have in my life, and
Wow.
I never had problems throwing the ball back to the pitcher ever again. Because it's like it really was like just it made me calm down and realize it's all right. Like it's all right. Like it's not, it's all right. Like everything's fine. Like
That's funny.
that was just, just that's it. I was just wound up so tight from years, just everything going on and everything like being so intense. So anyway, I smoked weed. And then the next year in school, so I started smoking weed, and but I didn't have any money.
Right.
I didn't have a job. I was playing college baseball. So the first way I started getting weed was I was actually writing papers for guys on the basketball team, and they would give me weed as payment.
payment.
For writing their papers. So that's how I started getting weed, a little bit of weed. But then when that kind of ended, I started buying like an ounce and like selling like some eighths. So I started buying ounces of weed, and I would sell like an eighth and stuff like that just so I could smoke for free. But that had built up to like, it was that $1,000 I was buying the weed with was like my big, like, all right, I'm going to try to like, make money off of this. Cause I was also, I was serving at a Mexican restaurant, and I was making decent money for that time. I was like making like $600 a week, serving like 4 days a week and trying to play baseball. I got arrested. That's when I told the cop that weed was going to be legal one day. And that was my first experience with so when that happened, the lawyer was like, you need to try to do as good as you can in school, because that'll look good for court.
The court date or whatever, yeah.
And you need to take drug classes to show that you're like on top of it. But I got drug tested at the drug classes. So that's when like my friends were like, if you try, like you can take Percocets on the weekend or whatever, and they'll be out of your system by Wednesday. So that's how I got onto pain pills, which led to me being addicted to Oxycontin.
Wait, so taking Percocet cleared your piss test of weed?
No. Like an alternative way of getting fucked up. Oh. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. So like I only smoked weed. Only smoked weed, right? But then obviously I got arrested. I was going to get drug classes, and weed stays in your system for 30 days. So my friends were like, they had kind of all started doing like pills and shit like that, and I didn't really know anything about those. And then my friends were like, oh, if you take a Percocet, it'll be out of your system by Wednesday.
The Percocet will be out. Okay.
Yeah, the Percocet will be out of your system by Wednesday.
It's not like weed where you smoke a joint and it takes a few weeks to. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's when I started taking Percocets, and then once I got out of drug class and everything, and the court case kind of ended. By that time, I got addicted to pills, and I was up to doing like 3 Oxy-80s a day. Like, yeah. So that's why I'm so like, it's my belief that I would have never tried pills or really even drank if I had been allowed to use marijuana. If that was allowed, I would have never tried those other things, because I was perfectly happy just smoking weed. And that's, and that's something that for people who have used substances and enjoy substances, and have been in trouble for substances, it's such a common story that weed is the one thing you can't do when you're under some kind of legal ramification aspect, because of how long it stays in your system. Right. So not only is it even if you want to call it like a drug, like a dangerous drug or whatever, it's clearly the least dangerous compared to other substances.
Right.
But it stays in your system the longest. So it has the most possibility of getting caught using it. So it's like an inverse punishment scale. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get less, you can get away with doing meth, you can get away with doing heroin, you can get away with all these other drugs, as long as you know when a drug test is coming. If you just have a couple days in advance, you can get that out of your system. But weed, you're screwed.
All right, guys, taking a quick break from Honor Among Thieves podcast to bring you a word from our sponsor. And that is Federal Prison Tips. At Federal Prison Tips, we help people navigate the justice system from indictment, re-entry, everywhere in between. Whether you're a loved one trying to get relief for someone that you love that is in federal prison, you are currently in federal prison, or about to go to federal prison, we can definitely help you. Everything from plea mitigation, sentencing mitigation, PRSAR challenges, anything about guidance while you're in prison, actually what to expect if you're a first timer and have never been there. Whether this is your second case, third case, you haven't quite learned your lesson yet. Either way, we can help you with everything that has to do with federal prison. Good time, FSA, second chance credits, getting designated to a facility. Any issues you might be having within the federal prison system, we can definitely help. Honor Among Thieves Podcast. Mention that you saw us on the podcast and you'll get special rates only given to those who listen to the podcast. Again, 407-434-0175, extension 7. Hit us up, federalprisontips.com. Contact us. Let them know you heard about them through me. Now let's get back to the show. Sidebar, I have a potential client that I called recently, and he's failed his piss test 4 times for cocaine. I don't know how he's not in prison.
Wow. That's crazy.
It is, and especially considering that it's out of your system in no time.
Yes. He can't go 24 hours without. He's got to do it. Well, that's the thing though about with the pills, right? Is I didn't realize how fast it would get to where I couldn't not do a pill Monday through Wednesday. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I mean, luckily, the drug classes stopped, so I wasn't getting drug tested. Right. But the addiction stayed.
Right.
So then eventually I used cannabis to get off of opiates. And there was actually a period of time that I went completely clean and sober for a year and a half.
What period of time did it take? How long were you on opiates? What amount of time?
So I got the last time I ever used an opiate was July 28th, 2010. And the arrest happened in 2008. So a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. That's how long I was doing pills for. And that's why I volunteer at Wake Up Carolina and all of that whole aspect of everything, and why my goal is to create a cannabis-based opiate rehab is because of how many friends didn't get out of that addiction. And died or have overdosed many times. And like we were talking about earlier, it went from So the way it really went for people was Oxycontin became huge. They got addicted to Oxycontin. Then they changed Oxycontin to Opanin, which added a gelling thing that kept you from being able to snort it or smoke it. And when they did that, it was also kind of coincided with when people were running out of money to buy Oxycontin because they were $60 to $80 a piece by that time.
Right.
So that's when the switch to heroin happened. Was right when they did that, which the way that the other side sees it is, oh well, we got people off of Oxycontin, and they got held responsible, blah, blah, blah. But it's the people who were addicted to the drug didn't stop using drugs. They just switched to heroin. So that's when the heroin boom started happening, was when Oxycontin changed to Opanin, and they started arresting doctors for overprescribing, and the pills mills got shut down, and all that stuff happened. When all that stuff happened, people kind of look at that, back at it as a good thing. And I can see that, but it also led to more heroin use. It didn't stop people from getting high.
Right.
It just switched people to heroin. So then, and then you had the 30 milligram Roxys, and then those started getting fentanyl in them. So that's when the dirty 30s started happening. And now people want the dirty 30s. They don't want a real perk 30. They want a dirty 30, fentanyl lace 30. And people want to do fentanyl. That's something that I think that kind of switch. At first it was fentanyl laced drugs, right? Mm-hmm. Now people are choosing to do fentanyl. They want the fentanyl laced drugs because they get you more fucked up. There's, a lot of people don't realize that when there's an overdose in an area, it actually increases the drug use because drug addicts want to try the drug that people just died from. because people who aren't in that world can't comprehend why
somebody would want to do that.
Exactly. But it's reality. So it's just like every time we try to like, okay, well, we're going to get rid of this. And now, what is it? Xylophone or something like that. It's worse than fentanyl. And people like haven't even realized that that's the next iteration of what's going to happen in the future. And that's just the reality of the situation. And the harm reduction, like we were talking about earlier, the harm reduction is like, that's really what, but I didn't even know the word harm reduction when I wrote my novel, but that's really what my novel is the concept of harm reduction, which is basically like keep people alive, like reduce the amount of harm the drug use causes them. Because when you go all the way back, it's like, would it have just been better to let people have pills? You know what I mean? It's hard to say that, but when you look at what happened, it's like there might be a lot of these people might still be alive.
Right. Exactly.
And then would that, if you weigh that against like, okay, so, but what if that created more people addicted? Where's that? Then it just really becomes where you weigh the value. Like, would you accept a 90% reduction in overdose deaths for a doubling of the amount of people addicted to a drug?
Right.
On like a social mass scale. Right?
Right.
Like and you're going to find people that answer that question firmly and adamantly on both sides. Some people would be like, F it, people that use drugs, survival of the fittest. If they die, they die. And then other people, mainly people who have had friends and family members die and have actually experienced that, are going to be like, I don't want people to die.
Right.
And that's the side I'm on. Is like, if we can reduce the amount of people who die, then I could live with more people using if less people are dying. And that's like, I think that's like, that's something that people really have to take a consideration when you look at the mass, like the overall, like what is the drug war,
right?
Like what are we really, because the war on drugs has really just turned into a war on people, a war on poor people. Because that's the other thing too. No one cares if you can afford the drugs. Like people expect rock stars to all be on drugs, actors, like all people that have a lot of money, they can do drugs. No big deal. They can get a doctor's prescription for whatever drug they want. Think about like white women and Adderall. White women, like Adderall is one molecule different than meth. There's a whole generation of white women right now running around on Adderall who said I couldn't pay attention in college, knowing that if they just said I can't pay attention, they'd get prescribed Adderall. Now they're prescribed Adderall. They do Adderall every day. It helps them pay attention to the kids and take the stroller out and all that, which, it is what it is. But because they have money, because they have healthcare, because they have those things, no one looks down on them for doing that.
Not to mention the college kids that take the Adderall, right? That's a whole nother. That's
That's how it starts. They start in college. They start in college, and then
it just snowballs.
That's how they live their life. They're on Adderall.
So let's talk about irony for a second. So let's go back to the opiates. You never got in trouble for opiates, right?
No.
Isn't that crazy?
Nope.
Never got in trouble. So you do like a year and a half where you're using opiates. How do you get back into cannabis again? Like, where do you kind of, I don't know, do you realize it? Does someone offer it to you again? What happens?
No, so I mean, by the end of my being on opiates, I was using weed too.
Okay.
And then I stopped everything, like I said, July 28th, 2010, because I got arrested again for weed. I got arrested again with a 1/4 pound of weed. And then I moved to South Carolina. That's when I moved to South Carolina. That's where the Baltimore to South Carolina. And that's what made me get clean. I moved down to South Carolina with my sister.
Was getting arrested kind of like a wake up moment for you? Like, all right, maybe I should.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. And you know, I got off the pills because I got lucky because I just happened to not have any pills. Like I happened to be out. I had done them all. Like
I just ran out.
Yeah. I just ran out. I had just done the last. You know, it was a phase in my life where, like, you know, I would do all the pills, and then the next day it was like, all right, what do I got to do to find more pills? And they rated, you know, I got arrested in the morning when I hadn't gone to find more pills for the day, so that I didn't have any right at that second. They found like residue in straws and stuff like that, but nothing that, you know, nothing like
nothing
chargeable.
that's stuck.
Yeah. They tried to charge me with destruction of a pill bottle. You know, it's actually a felony to take a label off of a pill bottle.
Really?
Yes, it is a felony to take a label off of a pill bottle, even if it's prescribed to you. So just to let everyone. Oh, and actually, if you like, you know how people used to put weed into pill bottles to keep the smell?
I remember that.
That's an extra charge because you're misusing the prescription pill bottle.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's actually a thing. But, you know, it's a thing that they're willing to drop pretty easily because it's like...
Because it's, come on, bro.
Yeah. Like, okay, I'm going to take this to trial. Like,
for sure.
The jury's going to be sitting there like, what? That's illegal? I have a pill bottle that I have, like... safety pins in at home, you know what I mean? Like people use those bottles for everything. But literally. Technically, it's a crime it's a felony to take a label off of a pill bottle.
And that's why they make them that color, I bet, because you know this is the only pill you can only get this from us or whatever. That's wild.
Yeah.
So you moved down to South Carolina.
Yep.
Did you graduate college?
No, I did not graduate college.
So you dropped out.
Yep, dropped out
after you got arrested. Go to South Carolina.
Yep.
You move in with your sister.
Yep.
Is this when you become the bartender?
I mean, eventually, I worked at a couple other restaurants and like moved to Myrtle Beach for 6 months and all that. But then when I got back from Myrtle Beach, I started living with a dude who sold weed, and that kind of like and bartending downtown. So I was bartending downtown, and then he sold weed. So it kind of got me into selling because, you know, it was his weed, but if like one of my friends needed weed, I would just go grab it and give him the money for it kind of thing. So I was kind of selling weed. But then when my daughter's mom got pregnant, you know, we moved in together, and that's when my friend in California was like, you know, he had just moved out of California and asked if I could get rid of weed for him. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And that's when selling weed again started. Which looking back wasn't probably, and it was funny too because I remember when I was completely clean and sober, I told like, you know, my friends in South Carolina never knew me as like pothead Jeremy or like, you know, using any drugs Jeremy. And I was like, they're like, well, why don't you just smoke weed or whatever? I was like, because if I start smoking weed, I'm gonna start selling it again. There's just no way. Like that's just how I am. And then sure enough, that's exactly what happened. I started smoking weed, and then I started selling weed again, and then I started selling a lot of weed, and then I started getting mattresses full of weed.
Did it slowly progress?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so the first time, like I said, it was a pound. It was probably a pound for not long, maybe a month or two, and then it got up to 2, 3, 5, 10.
So walk me through the slow progression. So did you become a bartender first before you started selling weed again? And then what happened? Like people around the bar were like, "Hey, you know where I get some weed?" And then you were like,
"Yeah." So where I worked, it's called Tsunami, and it was like an upscale sushi restaurant downtown, and you know, yeah, I mean, like all the girls that worked there smoked weed, their boyfriend smoked weed, or the guy they're talking to smokes weed, or like whatever. And then because I had worked at a Red Robin before that. So I had a friend that still worked at Red Robin, and I would give him weed and he would sell it to all the people at Red Robin. Then I was selling to all the people at Tsunami. Then I don't even know how I met. Like there was different people that kind of like whenever you're doing that, people are like, hey, I know this guy.
Yeah.
And my thing was always like, I would give anybody 2 ounces of weed and be like, bring me the $400 whenever you have it. And if they never brought it back, it meant I never had to hear them ask me for anything like
Ever
again. And if they did, I'd give them more and let's see how you're good at it. So, you know, there was people that I did that with that moved all the way up to selling a pound or two a week. And then there was other people that still owe me $400. But that kind of like farmed it to where I wasn't really having to sell much weed myself. There was people that I would give an amount to and they would sell it and then just bring me the money.
You know, that's a page out of one of my favorite movies, Bronx Tale. You know, when C chases that guy down in the street when he owes him $20, and then Sonny's like, "What are you doing? Why are you chasing him down the street?" You know, and Sonny's like, and C's telling Sonny, "He owes me $20." He's like, "Bro, you paid that guy $20 to get it out of your life.
Exactly.
You never have to deal with that guy ever again."
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
Like that's for real. I mean, because you know, when you're selling weed, obviously people know you're selling weed. They think you have like all this money and like all this other shit.
Drug dealer shit.
Yeah. So, and they think that it's just easy, right? Well, I mean, people don't understand, like, to make money selling drugs in general, you have to be available all the time.
Yeah.
You're constantly like, it is work. Like you know, as much as any other job is work. And like, you know, what made it easier for me is like, I'd go to work bartending. I'd bring whatever it was. People would be like, yo, I'll come through and get 2 ounces. I'll come through and get that. I'd bring it all to work. I'd do that at work. And then, you know, during the days and stuff like that, I had friends that would come over and we'd smoke weed and play video games together and shit like that. And maybe they would grab some weed from me, but I got to the point where I didn't really, you know, I wasn't having to like go meet somebody in a parking lot somewhere. It was either like you either came to work and got the weed from me and I was already at work anyway, which that was Tsunami always smelled like weed. Like the restaurant always smelled like, and it was because the owners were Korean and they didn't know anything about weed, so they just, what is that smell?
That's hilarious.
Like
what is that smell?
Yeah, there's like a pound behind the
That's
fucking
so funny.
bar.
Oh my God.
I used to give it to people in to-go boxes, so they would like.
So you come pick it up.
Yeah.
They look like they were picking up food.
Yes. Yeah.
That was genius.
Yeah. So I just put the to-go box in the bag on the. They'd come. I always told people like, just come in, have a drink. I'll put it in a to-go box, and then I'll, you know, and then just cash out, and that's it.
Did they ever notice that? Why are all the to-go boxes going?
We had so many to-go boxes. I mean, it also like there were so many actual to-go orders all the time because the bartender, like that was one of our jobs as the bartender, was we had to get all the to-go orders together. That's why it didn't look out of the normal at all, because I was putting to-go orders together all the time. So it really wasn't, you know, it's just like, because sometimes they would be sitting right next to two other, because that was a pretty normal thing, is like people would order to go, they'd come in, they'd have a drink, wait for their food, and then I'd give it to them. So a lot of times there'd be like two people there that were really just sitting there waiting for food, and then there's one of my people there that is really just waiting for weed, and they're all just hanging out.
Well, you brought them business, right? Because they'd come buy a drink or whatever. You know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, and it, like that, I've thought about writing like a book like based just on Tsunami, because it was just, because there was like, and then once like 10 o'clock hit, then like the Coke dealer came in, and then it was just like crazy all the rest of the night. Every bar has a Coke dealer. That's one thing about
every
the
strip
restaurant.
club, every bar.
Everybody.
Yeah. And depending on some restaurants.
Depends
on the
exactly. People. Yeah.
When does your buddy in California come into the mix?
So he was from Maryland. He was my friend from Maryland. He's like one of my friends. He's really the friend who talked me into smoking weed for the first time. When he moved to Cali, that's when
he was your connect from the start, since before you became a bartender. Like he was like your guy, or no? He was
my friend. Like we'd been friends. Like we were in like the nursery at church together.
Right.
Like we'd known each other our whole lives. When I moved to South Carolina, we were still friends and stuff, but he still lived in Maryland, but he was selling weed in Maryland. And then he decided to move out to California to like open a dispensary and shit like that. So when he got out there, he was trying to like make moves and everything. And you got to think, for him, it's like his market was in Maryland, right? Because that's where he had done all his business. And now South Carolina is like a totally new market. Yeah, like open up a new market, basically. So that's really, what happened. And that's It was definitely like, it's never like when he sent me a pound, I planned on ever getting up to like shipping 40 pounds of weed and mattresses. But it just kind of happened.
It just, how fast was the progression? Like, you got the job bartending, you're pushing some weed.
So I would say it took about a year and probably about a year and really like a year and 2 months maybe. So like 14 months from the first time he sent me a pound to the 40 pounds in the mattress. Like it was the end of 2013, like literally like December 2013 was the first time I got a pound. And then the first mattress we shipped was like February of 2015. So 2014 was like
it's a pretty
build,
fast progression.
was like the build up where, like I said, it was doing up 1, then 2, then 5, then 10s.
Right.
Which 10, like once you get to 10, like that's a pretty big fucking box to be shipping. And then like with the USPS stuff, like you have to have different addresses you're sending to, and you don't want to hit the same address too many times.
Yeah.
And it's just,
So
it was like, all right, we need to find and the biggest thing, and it is the reason I got caught, is the money. The money is the hardest part of anything related to that world, like the drug world, is because you either got to try to fly with it, which if they catch you with the money, then you're screwed.
Or you got to drive with it, which is a whole nother mission, because if you're driving from California to Maryland, across the country.
Exactly. Exactly. The time that takes, it just messes up everything.
Yep.
You can try to send the money in the mail.
Good luck.
But then if the money goes missing, what are you going to do? You can
and supposedly USPS doesn't check their packages supposedly without a warrant, right? That's like word on the street.
Yeah. Yes. But that I don't know that that's true. But what it also is like, if USPS worker takes money or weed or drugs, you can't call and be like, hey,
where's my weed?
Yeah, where's my weed, money, and drugs? So it's risky. So what we were doing was, if it's less than $10,000, you don't have to report it, which is true. But when you show up to the same banks putting $9,000 cash into someone else's account in California, 3-4 times a week, there's going to be some red flags. When you're all right. So my guy in California, you got to think like, at this point in life, he's partying and whatever. And Saturdays, only one Wells Fargo in Greenville is open on Saturdays. It's not like, I don't know how it is in Miami, but on the West Coast, like banks are open on Saturdays. Like
they're open here, and some of them are open till later. Some of them are open till 1. It depends.
I got you, but most of them are open on Saturdays.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah. See, in South Carolina,
that's not happening.
There's like literally the Wells Fargo by the Haywood Mall was the only one open, and it was only open till 1 o'clock, which is 10 in the morning, Pacific time. Right. But if you don't get the money in by then you can't get it until Monday. Right. So. Like I swear every Saturday, and he's got to send me the information for me to put it in the bank. So I'd be sitting there waiting. He'd hit me up at like 12:48. Like, all right, here it is. There was at least 5-6 times that I was the last person walking in the bank as they're about, like the guy's
12:57.
Yeah. The guy's outside with the key, and I'm the last person with $9,000 cash. Putting it in a bank in California, and I'm like, bro, this
is crazy.
This is hot. And like, nah, people do this shit all the time. It's not a big deal. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think we need to find a better way than this. Like, this is really sketchy. And sure enough, when the Fed case come out,
of course,
that's really one of the biggest things.
Your Honor, if you look at this bank statement,
that's it. That's what my case. That's what my case is. My case is me putting $780,000 into accounts in California over the course of those 2 years. Well, what were you putting the money in the accounts for?
I can imagine you being like,
like we found 7 pounds of weed in your house. We have you dropping $780,000. Your child's mother says you were selling weed. You're where's it's like.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
Take me to prison.
Yeah. I mean, that's how that works.
So before we get to when you got arrested, let's break this down.
Okay.
So you were shipping 40 pounds per mattress?
Yes.
How many mattress did it start at one mattress and work up or?
All right. So basically me and my daughter's mom at the time, we got a bed, a new mattress. A friend of mine came over. I was showing him like, oh, look, we got this new mattress. High as fuck. I said, bro, can you imagine how much weed we could put in this mattress? And he goes, man, I know a guy who owns a foam factory in Florida. He would definitely make you mattresses to do that with. And I was like, really? So that's when the idea came. So the first one we tried was a king size mattress. Right? So we shipped the king size mattress, but it's so big and awkward and everything. It got back, but we didn't have it all the way filled up because I didn't have anybody willing to take that risk at first. So it only had like 5 pounds in it, and it had some carts in it, like the pens. And the mattress, by the time it got there, it was like the box was messed up. It was like flopped over. So we were like, it's going to be better. Queen size mattress is going to be better. So that's what we did. We moved it down to a queen size mattress, and it basically fit 5 pounds, 8 5-pound packs next to each other, fit perfectly into the mattress. Now, when I say a mattress, like it's not like just like go buy a mattress and hollow it out. It was really just pieces of foam, like one, probably about that thick foam, like one that was like a sheet on the top and then one on the bottom and then like sides that were kind of built on it with a middle one too that kind of stabilized it, but the rest was just empty. But what you would do is when he sent it, he had the one side with the top parts attached, and the other one was just plain. So when you put the weed in, then you would just put the piece of foam on top and glue it all the way around the edge and in the middle. So then it was just glued. And a lot of times when I was in California, because I would stay on my friend's house and I would just sleep on top of the mattress. So I would sleep on top of 40 pounds a lot before we would take it to the shipping place. But it was a good idea until we got caught, for sure. It was definitely a good idea until we got caught. But the first time, the king size mattress, like I said, it was just too awkward. But after that, it kind of worked out all the kinks. It was like, okay, the queen size is going to be better because it's more stable. Because you got to think like it's easier for them to like move it because other people are moving it and they don't realize what's inside of it and shit like that. So with the queen size, it was easier to handle. And yeah, we just did that until one went missing. What
was your biggest shipment?
40 pounds.
No, but I'm saying you did one mattress a month?
We did one every 2 weeks. So the way it would work is as long as we got the mattress in by Wednesday, it would show up on Monday the next week. So I would fly out on Monday morning. It would take
2 days to prep it.
Yeah, because it would take that long to acquire 40 pounds because nobody has like 40. Like I'd have to get 5 pounds from this grower, 7 pounds from this grower, 3 pounds from this grower, like all over the place. And then the second biggest thing was trying to find 11-inch vacuum seal bags in California. That was crazy, trying to find 11-inch vacuum seal bags in California.
All right, guys, taking a quick break from the podcast to talk to you about Gus Villa Jewelry. Yo, let's be real here for a second. If you're rocking plain jewelry in Miami, of all places, you are doing it 100% wrong, my boy. Step your game up with Gus Villa Jewelry, the plug for real Cuban link gold and silver chains. And of course, the cleanest Rolexes in all of Miami. This isn't factory made or watered down or any of that stuff. This is high quality, custom, handmade stuff that shines from here to the moon. It turns heads, starts conversations, and makes you look fresh. Gus has something that'll level up your whole vibe. And because you're locked in here with us at Honor Among Thieves Podcast, you're getting a hookup. Use the promo code Montana at checkout. Get 5% off your entire order. That's right, 5% off. Go check them out at gusvillajewelry.com or pull up on them in the Diamond District down here in downtown Miami. gusvillajewelry.com. Again, that's gusvillajewelry.com. And tell them your boy Montana sent you. Gus Villa Jewelry. Now back to the podcast. Apparently, they don't have them anywhere. They're like hard to buy. They're sold out everywhere.
Yeah, because so many people are sending weed from California. Like, it's so noticeable. Like, you go in and like you'll see the vacuum seal bags, and there's all kind of different sizes and everything, and then only the 11-inch ones like empty. Everything else fully stocked. 11-inch empty everywhere. Walmart, Target, Walgreens, CVS, empty. 11-inch vacuum seal bags. And this is back in like 2015. So it's even more, nowadays, so many states, like Oklahoma's becoming a huge like producer of weed nationwide. Because California is so expensive. So the prices can only drop so far in California for weed.
Right.
In other states, you can produce weed for so much cheaper, and their laws, like in Oklahoma, like the laws are very, like Oklahoma only has medical, but it's like super lax medical. So there's like huge farms and stuff like that. You know, you can create a warehouse in Oklahoma for nothing and sell weed for super cheap and ship it all over the country. So there's a lot of other places. But back then in 2015, California was the place. You know, that they were the producer of marijuana for really, if you think about it, worldwide, but especially for the rest of the country, because they've been doing it the longest and all that. Now California has become more of like a niche, like they're the original, they have the best, like that kind of thing. But back then, that was where weed was being pushed out all around the country. Same way I was doing it. So that, you know, so I'd spend basically a day getting everything, because I also needed mattress boxes to put the mattress in, but only one store sold the mattress boxes. I'd have to get like shrink wrap for the mattress, like like just, you know, everything I needed for the mattress, buy the phone, order, like set up the shipping, because I tried to use a different freight service every time, so it wasn't like the same freight service getting a mattress every single time. Just things like that, trying to keep the feds from knowing, which, I mean, in fairness, they didn't know about a lot of the shipments. But they knew about enough. Really was the money though, that's the big thing.
That's what I got you.
The money.
So you're doing 80 pounds a month. What are you making per pound?
200. So that's like 16 grand a month on the mattresses. But then I'm still sending 5 and 10 packs back that were mine, because I had one person that was paying for the whole because by the end, like, he would buy the whole mattress and have it shipped to Charlotte. He actually had somebody in Charlotte, so it actually wasn't even coming to Greenville. That like he had a buyer for the whole mattress. So I would go out there with the money, ship it to Charlotte. That person would buy it from him. He'd give me $200 a pound, and it was just like a one transaction thing. And then I still had my 5 and 10s or whatever, but yeah. So like 16 grand from the mattresses, and then I was probably making like, I don't know, maybe 3,000 to 5,000 a week on your own, on my own,
like the 5,
because I made way more percentage wise on my own weed than I did on the mattress.
Wholesale versus retail.
Yeah,
of course.
exactly.
So you're making money, like,
yeah, I was making money,
hand over fist.
Yeah, I mean, I would like I've when you consider losses and everything like that, I would think that 250 grand in that year, that I was really doing that, like is probably realistic, you know, as like what I made profit wise, which isn't, you know, it's not an insignificant amount of money, but it's
Definitely
also not, you know, I'm not.
Yeah,
gonna
but
be,
you're not a millionaire. But but 250 grand is
yeah,
funny.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
but it, you know, it's.
So walk me through how you got caught. You said a mattress went missing. Is that how it started?
So I say that's how it started because now the feds never found that mattress. I think what happened was I think that the people at the freight figured it out. I think that they poked a hole in it and they realized what it was and they kept it. I think that's what happened with that mattress because the feds didn't know anything about it. But when that happened, it made the guy that was like the mattress guy like kind of go into catch-up mode. So he pulled a whole bunch of money out of the bank and we were going to try to drive the weed back.
Fuck.
So we found a guy. There was a guy that was going to drive for us, and I was flying out to Cali with him. And I had $43,500 in my bag, and he had 40 grand in his bag because, like, literally, like a dude dropped off 40 grand to the hotel the night before I flew out there, and the driver dude's like, "Oh my God, I've never seen that much money. Can I keep it in my bag?" I was like, "Yeah, whatever. It's probably better if we split it up anyway," which it kind of was. So we get to the airport. I walk through, nothing. I'm fine. He goes through. They stop him. They stopped him because he had fucking, you know, those big vapes that everyone used to fucking. He was a vapor and like those big batteries, which you're allowed to have, but they want to see what this fucking big electronic thing is in your bag. So when they looked for the vape, like what the vape was, they found the cash. So they pulled him off to the side. They started asking him questions. He didn't stick to the plan of what to say. So they ended up, they took us down to the Homeland Security office. Now remember, I still have $43,500 in my bag. They take us down all these fucking hallways in the Charlotte airport. And we get to this very end. We walk in and they're like, "All right, well, if you guys can just put your bags on the table, we'll just check them, make sure there's nothing else in here." I said, "Am I under arrest?" They're like, "No." And I'm like, "So I'm free to go?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm going to exercise that right." So I walked out with the money. So I get outside and I'm waiting for him. And a officer comes out to me and he's like, "Yeah, do you mind if I take a look in that bag?" And I was like, "Listen, I already went through your security. There's nothing in my, like, there. You have no reason to search me." He's like, "Okay, well, you left your ID back there, so you need to go get it." And I was like, "It's all right. My friend can bring it out to me. I don't need to go get it." He's like, "No, you have to go get it." So when he tells me that, the guy I was with comes out at the door. So I tell him, I'm like, "Watch my bag. I got to go get my ID." So I go back in to where the Homeland Security is, and I walk in the door. The second I walk in the door, there's a dog right there. But they see I don't have my bag on me.
Right.
They immediately like run out the door with the bag. So I get on my phone onto Wicker, which was like the messaging app that we used. And I told him, I was like, "Get in a cab and go. Take my bags, go." So I get my ID. I walk out. He's gone. My daughter's mom was on the way back to pick us up because she dropped us off at the airport. So she picks me up. And I told him, I was like, "Go back to the hotel." Well, it was like, it was an extended stay and there's two. He went to the wrong one. But thank God he went to the wrong one because the feds were already at the hotel we had stayed in the night before.
Right.
So he went to the wrong one, but he had the 43.5 bag. But that's why so then the guy whose money it was, he gets a lawyer and whatever trying to get the money back, right? And the thing was, because he did have records of him taking out 40 grand out of his bank account within the past 30 days, 40 grand is what was found. he really had gotten in a motorcycle accident the day before and was in the hospital. And that was the story. Like I was like, yo, listen, he's my boy. He got in a motorcycle accident. We're flying out there. I'm taking him the money because we didn't know how he was, like whatever. Like, you know, he had left it in his apartment. I went and picked it up, and they're like, okay, but why is he the one holding the money? I'm like, so we had a story, but it was like had a lot of holes really. So they gave the money back. But when the feds raided my house when the feds came and picked me up. So I got arrested in 2016 by the state. When the feds picked it up, the very first question they asked me was, so what was in the bag? Because that's what they wanted to know. They knew if I didn't have anything in the bag, I wouldn't have walked out of the thing. I wouldn't have done everything that I did. And that's the one, but that was like the one thing they couldn't prove to keep the money. But that's the one thing that they really, and that's when I realized, like, that's what this is. That's why this is a Fed case. It's a Fed case because of that money, because they gave us that 40 grand back, because they didn't know what was in my bag, because they had to give the money back because they didn't know what was in my bag. That's really why the feds cared enough to go after a marijuana case, was because of that event at the airport. Of the money. I think that if we had let them have the 40 grand. But see, that was the thing, is we had just lost $80,000 worth of weed in a mattress. And then it would have been 40 grand at the airport. That's a $120,000 loss in the course of a month. Like, that's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Like, even for, like, he had money, but he didn't, like, that's a lot of money to anybody. Right. So he just couldn't take that 120 grand loss. So he wanted that 40 grand back. And that's really, so I actually... I actually stopped selling weed then. I was like, this is way too hot. Like, this is crazy. So I started bartending again and literally hadn't even finished training yet. And I broke my hand playing flag football. And I also worked like part-time at a moving company too. So I couldn't move or bartend with a broken hand. So like money was going down fast. And, you know, they're like, oh, it's all over now. You know, just get going again. So they started sending me weed again. And then, so that was August of 2015 was when they took the money out. I started selling weed again in like December, January, maybe. And then in June is when they like raided my house and found the 7 pounds and all of that. So if I had stopped, if I had been able to like totally stop, I don't know that I would have ever gotten arrested for it. There's no way to know, because obviously, like, you know, they don't need to find any. They had the bank records. They had all that. They could have figured that out. But
that would have already been money laundering or something. They would have stuck you with something.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. But
how fast do the feds pick up the case after you get arrested by the state?
Not fast, because so as soon as I got bailed out on the state charges, the first lawyer I called was like, the feds want to talk to you. Then when I got a lawyer, he was in contact with the feds. And, you know, he's like, look, they want to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And that, like, I was just like, I'm not talking to you. I'm like, I don't have anything to say. And he's like, look, like, you know, they just want, like, you don't gotta whatever. But I'm just like, no, I'm not talking to him at all. I don't got anything to say to him. I was like, let me know when they want me to turn myself in, and I'll turn myself in. So he's like, okay. Because other people, like, had gotten target letters, and they went and told everything. And I wouldn't meet with them. So finally, they arrested me, and then they superseded it with the guy who was giving me the money, and the dude whose money we were putting it in their bank accounts. So they really, really what it came down to is they wanted me to tell on the money guy, because he didn't just sell weed. And then obviously the guy in California whose bank accounts I was putting the money in, he owns like a bunch of dispensaries and shit out there. Like, when they originally put the superseding indictment, they seized like 13 properties from him. So he ended up giving them, so what they had on record was me dropping $780,000 into bank accounts associated with him. Because I didn't realize that they were all led back to him. It was like different business names and that's why I had to wait for the numbers and all that shit every time. But all of them were owned by him. So they put it all together. He had to pay $500,000 cash and give up one of those properties, which was valued at $280,000. So they got their $780,000, right? And then the other guy, because I wouldn't tell, he told on a bunch of other shit and he didn't serve a day. So I'm the only person in my case who actually went to prison in a Fed case. In a Fed case that I was the bottom. Like I was the one that they were really trying to get to flip.
To work their way up the case.
Yeah. They like, I think that if I had met with them originally, they probably wouldn't have ever charged me. They would have just used me. But because I refused to meet with them, or work with them or do anything with them, they gave me 5 years and they let the other guy tell, on other shit. Like there wasn't really anything to tell in our case.
Right.
But I mean, he tried to tell on my, but they didn't have two. They only had him. You know how that works, like with conspiracy and the feds.
You gotta have two people.
You have to have two people that say you did something. Because I refused to be the second person, they only had him. But he told the guy, pretty sure the guy that I used to live with, who's now he gets out in August. I'm pretty sure that's how he got caught, was him telling on him. But our case was just the three of us. And like I said, the one guy gave up $500,000 cash in a property. I did 5 years. And the guy whose money it was, I think he got drug court. I think he had the...
So you got a 5-year sentence, minimum mandatory for, what was the charge?
Marijuana trafficking, 100 kilograms or more.
Hardcore. All right. Well... That's a hell of a story that I actually have never heard you tell, so that was pretty cool. We'll do a part 2.
Okay.
We'll talk about prison.
Okay.
Because that's a whole other animal.
Yeah, for sure.
Where can people find you?
So my Instagram is JerryDavid789. Jeremy Grove Writes is my website. That's where Legalized, the novel, is on. It's also on Amazon, but it's easier to just get it through my website. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. If you need moving, we do nationwide moving too. Ravelry Moving is the name of my moving company. And yeah, that's now that's one thing. I actually read that. Who was it? Elon that said the other day that drug dealers are the best entrepreneurs. Like 95% of drug dealers are better than entrepreneurs than anyone else, or something like that. Is that when I was in prison all the time, I used to tell people, I'm like, I made less money selling weed than if I had been doing similar numbers of anything else in the world.
Yep.
Like any other, if I'd been getting avocados from California and selling them to the Walmart wholesale, I would have been making a higher percentage than I was on selling weed.
That's crazy.
I just, I believe in weed. I like weed. It's fun, like all that stuff. But the actual money of it, it's just not like, it's not what people think in movies. Like, like drug dealers make all this money, whatever. Like you got to think like, because even when people read my case and they see that $780,000 number, they're like, "Oh my God, almost $1 million." I was like, "That's what I paid for weed. Like I had to pay that to the person in California for the weed they already sent me. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not really what it seems.
Right.
Like I'm not making $780,000. No one made $700. That's kind of the crazy part about it is no one made $780,000 because even the guy in California was paying for the weed or paying the growers and shit like that. So it's not just like free money. Like, someone made $780,000. It's like, no, it's a legitimate farming business. It's a business. Right. But that's the how I got to prison story.
We'll do the prison next time.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, cool.
All right, guys, push it to the limit. The world is yours. If you're not chasing a dream, life is meaningless. Catch you on the next one. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
So say goodnight to the bad guy.
You looking at the bad guy. This the last time that you ever see a bad guy like me. You don't have the guts to be who you wanna be.